Hello, I'm gonna draw an armadillo. My paper is oriented portrait because armadillos tend to crawl along the ground like that rather than, stand up. And I've got my Sharpie here, but I've also got my ballpoint pen. My ballpoint pen is gonna be really important today for capturing the look of the armadillo. So let's start out with our armadillo's head. Armadillos have kind of triangular heads that look something like this. Long snout, and then some nice big ears. They like to listen. They like to hear what's going on around them. They have tiny little eyes. And I think I'll wait to draw his mouth in a little bit. This is where it gets fun. Drawing an armadillo is fun. Starting behind his head, I'm gonna make kind of a curve that comes down here and becomes his protective shell. This shell's kind of like a hot dog bun, so it also kind of goes over to this side. Where from this side, I'm gonna bring it back up and make it kind of really curvy. They have a great curve on them. Almost like a big comma shape. And then it's gonna come down on the other side. So see how it like lays on top, kind of like a hot dog bun upside down. And underneath that, you've got, the animal. It's got nice little legs. And coming out of the back, it also has kind of the same thickness leg. They've got funny feet. I guess I shouldn't call them funny, but just, they're not what you'd expect. They're actually really prodigious diggers. They love to dig. So they have these like really impressive claws on their feet. Apparently they're really hard to keep in cages because they'll just like find a way to dig out of a cage. Although I don't really know why you'd want to cage an armadillo. I mean, they're pretty cool and all, but all right, so over here I might come back and do a nice long smile. Well, while I have my skinny pen here, I'll just go ahead and put in the ears. And there's only one thing left to do really on this guy, and that is a nice long tail. They're kind of like rats, kind of like possums, kind of like tanks, They're really unusual animals. It's like one of those things that if someone described it to you, you'd be like, nah, that's not real. But when you look at pictures of them, you're like, oh my God, not only are they real, but they're adorable. Okay, now let's get to some important features. We're gonna need a ballpoint pen here. I'm gonna go light. But the really important thing that you can do is create the armored sections of your armadillo. They have armor right on their forehead. They've got a nice big shell, but the shell actually has bands in it so that the armadillo can curl up and move around. So these are like points of flex in the armadillo shell. These are what allow it to move. And I think different armadillos have different numbers of these bands. I think this one might be a 9-banded armadillo. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I'm just gonna put a little texture in here so it looks like the bands are kind of tucked inside each other. Okay. One other thing, they also have kind of this segmented armored pattern on their tails going all the way out. Now let's get to the new tricky part. I'm gonna take my pen and I'm gonna do little circles, kind of lightly, just scrubbing in down here at the bottom. And then I'm gonna move away from that kind of I don't know, J shape, banana shape I just did, and do it even lighter. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see this on the camera, but this is really what helps create the texture of the armadillo. They've got kind of like circles. Their scales look like circles to me. So I'm just kind of using this circular pattern to kind of scrub in some of that shadow there. And this is a great technique because it covers their legs. So you can go back and put this little kind of circle shadow down there. Normally when I draw shadows, I do like cross-hatching lines, right? Well, now I'm just kind of scrubbing in circles. And it's fun. It's a fun pattern to do, fun line to make. You don't want it to get too big though. Try and keep them really tight circles. All right, the other thing is they have it on their head right here. So you want to go back and make sure you get the head too with this kind of cool little pattern. If you don't like doing this pattern, I mean, you could probably get by doing just, you know, making dots. But I find that dots don't really capture that cool texture of the armadillo. All right, one last thing about armadillos, and I don't understand this, but they're like hairy. They've just got weird random hairs sticking out in strange places, especially in the back legs, in the back leg area. So don't be afraid to give your little armadillo some fur. Of course, armadillos walk around in kind of arid, deserty, sandy areas. So the hot sun is going to be blazing down on this little guy, and he's got a nice big shell, so he'll have a nice big shadow underneath of him. I think a shadow will be important for a guy like this. Come on back here to his tail. And I think that's pretty good for an armadillo. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. See you around.